let's just speak to somebody who's been the Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, who can tell us why these checks and balances are important and how we can actually try to get Parliament to function in a better manner. So let's talk to him, and then we'll turn our attention to some of the politics. All right, we now have with us Mr. Achary, who's a former Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, 14th Lok Sabha, a little bit of the 15th Lok Sabha as well. So Mr. Achary, thank you so much for joining us. These fairly unprecedented scenes that we have seen in Parliament over the last 1 week, I want to just get your sense first on how you react to this. What do you make of what's been happening in Parliament?
No, this is, as you put it, is very unprecedented because members have been suspended. A very large number of them have been suspended. And when they are out of the house, so many bills, and that too bills of very great importance. The bills which are making very large number of amendments on almost replacing the IPC, CRPC and Evidence Act and all that. Such bills of momentous importance are being passed when the opposition is practically out of the house because of the large-scale suspension of members. This is something which I have never seen, and it is quite unprecedented in the history of the Lok Sabha, of course, except one instance I can quote, that is in 1989, when about 63 members were suspended from the House.
So, Mr. Achary, you have a situation where nearly 150 members ended up getting suspended, which is virtually the entire opposition. And then in that situation, you're actually having bills being passed, which means, again, by definition, those bills are not really being debated and discussed that much. So this presumably is not something that is desirable, and we should try and find a way to get around it. Have you ever seen such scenes in the past? The government will be blaming the opposition blames the government. Between those extremes, how do you move forward in a situation like this?
Well, you see, as a former Secretary General, I can say that whenever such occasions arise, there is a demand. When there is a demand from the opposition and the government is not willing to oblige and things like that, so naturally there will be a stalemate and protest and all that. But then there is a way out of this. If the government is serious, the opposition is willing to respond, then there can be a meeting. In fact, the Prime Minister or the senior minister of the government can call a meeting of all the opposition leaders and discuss matters with them and find an amicable settlement. So that is the way. That is the way Parliament has functioned earlier. I mean, at least I have been there since 1970.
So, Mr. Achary, is there a fear that, look, there could be a point somewhere in the future, you could have a situation where the entire opposition just gets suspended, and then some major bills are passed, some constitutional amendments end up getting passed, and they get passed because there's no opposition there to actually be able to vote against it. Now, okay, I'm painting a doomsday scenario, but in light of what we've often seen, in light of what we've seen right now, are those the sort of concerns that could actually happen? And if you don't want that to happen, irrespective of who's in power, it's not this government or that government, whoever is in power, that's not a situation that we would ever want to happen. How do you make sure that that can never happen in the future? How do you maintain those checks and balances?
Well, that is a possibility. Looking at what is happening in Parliament these days, one can certainly conclude that maybe at some future date, this is going to happen. In fact, it is happening. The opposition, practically the opposition is out of the house. And then all these various important bills are being passed. There is something very, very unusual about it. That is all I can say.
All right. Well, given the levels of confrontation, I'm not sure that anyone's really talking to each other right now. So any solution that you have in mind, how do you move forward from here?
See, solution is there. The only thing is that you must grasp it. That is it. See, the point is that, after all, it's a democratic country and it is a democratic house. And here, through democratic means, you must find solutions to issues. There is I don't think there is any issue which cannot be resolved through discussion and debate. Provided there is a willingness, or there is a proper attitude on both sides.
All right, Mr. Achary, thank you so much for joining us with that.
Thank you.